Hello and welcome to 70 Years, 70 Muppets, a Muppet fan podcast presented by ToughPigs.com. This is the podcast where we celebrate the Muppets' 70th anniversary with 70 straight weeks of spotlights on our favorite Muppet characters, from the most popular to the most obscure. I am this week's host, Joe Hennes, and the Muppet of the Week is Baby Skeeter, performed by Howie Mandel, Frank Welker, and Cree Summer, and designed, we think, by Michael Frith, making her world debut on September 15th, 1984, almost exactly 40 years ago this week. Our special guest this week is an illustrator and fine artist, best known to Muppet fans as the artist behind the Muppet Peter Pan, Muppet Sherlock Holmes comic book miniseries, and several issues of the Muppet Show comic book. It's Amy Mebberson. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Joe. Great to be here.
It's so great to have you here to talk about Skeeter. When this project started and we were starting to figure out, the topic team was figuring out like who are we going to get for guests for each of these Muppets, when we saw that Baby Skeeter was on the list, it was like, oh, I hope Amy can do this, because you have a claim to this character that not many other people can, like closer than most other people, because she doesn't really have like a performer or a puppet builder or anything like that.
Presence, no.
Yeah, definitely not much of a presence at all.
She was the missing Muppet for way too long. Yes.
Yeah. So can you explain to the folks who may not know what your connection to Skeeter is?
Okay, so back in sort of 2010, 2011 or so, I was a comic artist working with Boom Studios, comic publisher, and they were doing Disney comics, and they were also doing Muppet comics. And the Muppet Show comic book was started by Roger Langridge, my friend Roger, and he was the writer and artist on it. And we got an arc in, and Roger was kind of getting a little bit overwhelmed, and he's sort of like, I kind of maybe need a pause. And so I jumped up and down and my hand shot up in the air, said, ooh, can I draw it? Because I knew Roger, and he's a brilliant writer. I mean, the comic was nominated for an Eisner, and yeah, and so and the editors went, yeah, all right, and of course I had to sort of test and show I could actually draw the Muppets, and so Roger had an idea of the story that he wanted to write. He wanted to call it Family Reunion. And I said, well, we're talking about Family Reunion. Can I bring Skeeter back? we have Skeeter. We haven't seen her since Muppet Babies. And of course, like any good Gen Xer, I grew up watching Muppet Babies and loving that show ever since we all first saw them in Muppets Take Manhattan and fell in absolute love with them. And so Roger said, well, I don't know very much about Skeeter. Do you have character notes? I'm like, well, I don't really know much about her either, other than what we saw on Muppet Babies, but I can think of the kind of character I think she'd be now. And so I did some sketches, and I wrote up some character notes for Roger. Just, this is the kind of person I think she'd be if she worked at the Muppet Theatre now. She'd be still very much kind of a foil, or sort of the anti-Piggy. She's very sporty. She's very nerdy. She loves to climb on things, and if you own the Muppet comic book, either the Family Reunion one or the big collection that Marvel came out with later, there's Joe holding it up.
Yeah, I'm holding mine up. Yeah, I brought it with me.
Yeah, so they were grateful for any kind of background information I had about those. So I just emailed them my character notes and said, well, hey, there you go. There are some notes. They went, oh, this is great. And Roger went, okay, this is good. I can work with this. And so the return of Skeeter being like the surprise reveal in that comic was kind of the big reveal for that comic. And each issue of that story was about one of the Muppets, being reunited with like a distant relative or something. Like we had Fozzie's mom and Piggy's nephews, and Skeeter getting a job at the Muppet Theatre was kind of like a running theme through the whole thing. And it was Kermit and Robin, of course. And so yeah, that was a lot of fun. And this was a time at Disney when Disney didn't really know what they were doing with the Muppets very much. So there are a lot more sort of, well, I don't want to say strict, but there are much more strict sort of guidelines now for working with the Muppets. And but at the time, they kind of gave Boom more or less free rein to kind of do what we wanted. They sort of trusted Roger to write it, and The only slight issue we had was that whether we could actually use her name, because this is at the time, at the time, Muppet Babies was still in this very gray, it still is in a very legal gray area in terms of, that's why Disney have still never distributed it, because there was all these handshake agreements Jim did to just nick bits and pieces of footage from other things. And so I think but I mean, obviously that has been sorted out since then, obviously, because Skeeter is now in the new Muppet Babies. So they got that sorted out. But at the time, it was still a gray area. So we couldn't put her on the covers. And so Roger, of course, she's just called Scooter's sister all the way through it until
the last page.
The very end, where we finally got the last minute. They said, "Oh, we can," and so Roger said, "All right, well, I'm just going to work that in." And it's kind of like a little bittersweet reveal at the end that we finally see who she is, and not that we didn't know, but yeah. So and yeah, the fans, the Muppet fans, responded so warmly to that, and it was just so gratifying. It's like, oh, good, my girl still has a chance, but yeah, and it was great. It was great when they brought her back. I mean, they created Summer, of course, for Muppet Babies, but I'm like, well, if you got to create a whole new girl character, you've got to bring Skeeter back, right? And they did. So
they did, yes. Yeah, very grateful for that. What you created with this character, and I know I'm using the word created kind of fuzzy because you didn't create Skeeter, but you created the adult version of Skeeter.
Adapted her, yeah.
Adapted, yeah, right. Yeah. What you created for what we saw in this comic book was someone who not only fit in with the Muppet Troupe so well, but it was like we're desperate for more female characters, and this just made so much sense. It was like a hole that was missing in within the Muppet Troupe. It was someone who can really poke Miss Piggy in a really interesting way and kind of create conflict, but also big sister familial love thing. And create a lot more for Scooter, which we later saw in the 2015 sitcom. They were start trying all this new stuff with Scooter to add to his character, and this would have been such an easy way to do that. If there was a new Muppet show at the time, or new Muppet movies still coming out at that time. So first of all, I appreciate that, but second of all, why do you think that the Muppets are struggling so much to create these female characters when there's someone who's so obvious right here in the book?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm sure if I knew that information, I probably would not be able to say why. But,
right. True. Yeah.
Yeah. It's they tried doing some different things with Jan. I do love that kind of Janice has kind of evolved a lot as well. She's become a lot more. she still very much is the sort of the hippie flower child, but they've also incorporated much more sort of new age goopy kind of culture into it, which they really leaned into in Mayhem and stuff like that. And there was a thing in the Muppet Show where Sam had a crush on her or something, and that was weird.
In the 2015 show.
That was weird. But
we weren't big on that.
Was fine. Janice herself was fine, but I really don't know why, because there really isn't a role there's still not really enough female characters in Muppets in general, but it's like because if they're Muppets have always been very broad stroke characters. Piggy's the glamour diva, Janice is your hippie, but where's your jock girl? You need Skeeter fits a demographic for young women and a lot of women and girls these days of almost borderline non-gender conforming. It's okay to not present as because both Janice and Piggy present very, very well-trodden aspects of femininity, whereas Skeeter doesn't necessarily have to be that. She still be female coded, but at the same time, in this day and age, you would maybe say, oh, maybe Skeeter's non-binary or something like that. There's a lot you could use, or a lot a fan or a viewer could project or take away from Skeeter as a character. She's got so much range she's quirky, she's nerdy, she doesn't mind making a mess, she doesn't, she's proud of her bruises, she's, as we saw in the comic, when Camilla won't climb into the cannon, Skeeter's like, I'll put her in a chicken suit and I'll do it. And
Yeah, like kind of the other side
it's
of like Gonzo's Daredevil,
mhm.
that like
Yeah,
I think
she is a good, she'd be a good assistant.
yeah, and like a good stunt person too, just that
Oh
like you
yeah,
can't do it,
that's
I'll
it.
jump
She's a
in.
natural stunt person. Hmm.
Absolutely. And I like that you keep referring to her as nerdy because I find
Hmm.
that there's so many different types of nerdiness.
Hmm.
I think you and I would probably both admit that like we each have a lot of those elements to our personalities as well, but
Yeah.
not necessarily the kind that we saw from like Baby Scooter on Muppet
Hmm.
Babies, which is like all about computers and
Yeah,
facts
it's like
and
yeah, it's like little yeah, like yeah, because like in Muppet Babies, like little baby Scooter, so they just made him a computer nerd, which really didn't have any basis at all in any of his previous iterations.
no.
But it's like it's the 1980s. You have to have a computer nerd somewhere
And
in
he
there,
wears glasses.
somewhere
I
in
guess
there.
that means he's nerdy. Yeah.
And he wears glasses, yeah. And so they're like, and obviously somewhere along the line they went, oh, we only got Piggy. We should get another girl in there. Let's get Scooter a twin. And she's his complete opposite. So they made her
Yeah.
an athlete, made her a jock. Whereas nowadays, you could be both. You could be a
Right.
jock and a nerd. And
Yeah, absolutely.
so that's where Skeeter lends herself to it. I mean, she'd be out on a skateboard or, you know, um, I mean, nowadays, she and Scooter is kind of like the social media and the modern iteration of Scooter. He's the stage manager and gopher, but he's also still kept that bit of that tech savviness of the Muppet Baby Scooter. So and of course, Skeeter has, you could work with that too, and you could always see them like starting a business together or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, one thing that
Hmm.
kind of baffles me about Skeeter's existence or non-existence in this case is, back so she wasn't in Muppets Take Manhattan, that she was created for the
No.
cartoon, but when they started
Hmm.
creating a lot of photography work, kind of in
Hmm.
reflection of the cartoon with poser puppets, I think there's a beautiful book
Hmm.
that I tried to find before we recorded and I couldn't, but it's got like all these great photos of the Muppet Babies reenacting like
Hmm.
fairy tales and things like that, and they built
Yeah, yeah.
a Skeeter, a poser puppet of Skeeter for those. So
Hmm.
the framework for a Skeeter puppet exists, at least in baby form.
Hmm.
And then you
Yeah.
cut ahead to, now we've got this amazing design that you created for the comic book that
Hmm.
you made something that really fits so well into like you could see that someone at the Henson Company actually building that puppet. Like you didn't do something
Hmm.
that can only exist on the page. And for some reason they just haven't made that little jump yet of
Hmm.
making that puppet. Um there's no
Yeah, I mean,
question there. It's just an
fans
observation. Yeah.
fans fans have definitely done it. Quite a few people have built Skeeter puppets, and they almost look dead on,
Yeah,
and it's like, well, good. I'm like, oh yay! It means I kept the principles correct,
you did. You absolutely did. Yeah.
yeah,
That is something I
and
always loved about your style. This is a separate subject, but like with your art style when you draw Muppets really makes it look like that is the puppet. There's maybe a hand inside of that making that face, but not so much that you're married to, well, they can't move or
Yeah, I mean, I was perhaps a little overly strict on myself when I was drawing the Muppet comics. Like, I would not draw them doing anything that the puppet couldn't do. Like, their eyes didn't shift direction. If a character didn't blink, then they didn't blink.
mm,
So yeah, Piggy, you notice her eyes stayed dead center the whole time. Whereas I think nowadays, if I was drawing the Muppets, yeah, I think they'd have a little bit more flexibility, a bit more eye
sure,
direction and
yeah.
stuff like that. Give them a little more range. But yeah, but at the same time, you have to look at the Muppet. I mean, obviously for copyright reasons, Disney could take my design and make a puppet out of it. It's for an official Disney comic, they could do that.
Yeah.
Um, but they haven't, and be nice if they did. But it's getting anything new Muppety is just like crumbs. Give
That's
it to me. Give
true.
it to
That's
us.
true.
Um,
Yeah,
but uh,
frustrating for
but
all
they
of
they
us.
did. But yeah, if you look at Baby Skeeter and the Muppet, and the new Muppet Baby, she's got her little cat eye glasses. They took that little touch, which
Great.
I thought was cute.
Yeah, I
And
love I love the
yeah.
cat eye glasses. That's
Hmm.
such a great update. And exactly what she'd be wearing because she's
Yeah.
quirky. Um,
Yeah.
And speaking of that, so we've got the original 1984 Muppet Babies, where
Hmm.
Skeeter's is a member of that troupe, and then as we've been saying, she makes several appearances in the 2018 Muppet Babies reboot.
Hmm.
There's also a series of books that people may be aware of called Muppet Kids, where they're like slightly aged up.
Oh yeah, I
I think
think I remember
Skeeter,
these. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, Skeeter, I believe, is a member of the group in those. But then uh, stop me if you don't want to talk about this, but I think you had a pitch for like kind of what the next iteration of like Muppet Teens would be. This is like
Um,
years ago you told me about this.
yeah, well, they weren't teenagers. They were more. This never got further than like the boom pitch stage or something. I think they may have shown it to Disney, and Disney just went, no, not where
Right.
we want to go with, not where we want to go with this. I mean, yeah, they weren't kids. They were more just children.
Uh-huh.
And like it wasn't really a continuation. It was more kind of a slight reboot. So they hadn't aged out of the nursery, but it was like they were just a bunch of kids living in a little neighborhood together, like maybe the bunch of houses with a pond in the back, and Kermit lives in the pond. And I wanted to tap more into, I think Piggy, it was tapping into more like what's considered her canon origin story. Like, her mother wasn't really very nice to her, and she's kind of a little bit lonely. She's just desperate little girl, just desperately trying to be seen. And Gonzo's the kid who's always hurting himself, of course. And
Right, yeah.
Fozzie is just he just wants to make you laugh. It was a very sweet toned one. There wasn't really any sort of cynicism to it. I don't know if I envisioned it more as just almost like more like a storybook concept rather than comics. I would have probably made it work either way, but it was, yeah, I don't know if I got very far with it. I think I just did some character sketches and just some character ideas, and this look, this could work as a very much like a kids comic or an all ages comic, something like that. It was something
Right.
a lot more gentle, but would still be funny. So yeah, so that didn't get very far. That only exists in like sketch form. I don't think that
So
was never went anywhere.
did did Skeeter exist in that pitch? Did you
I
include
don't think
her?
I got as far as doing. Oh, I don't know. I would have to dig through art to find it. I don't think. Oh, maybe she did. I can't immediately remember. I had Piggy, Kermit, Fozzie, and Gonzo. They were the main ones.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't think I ever got as far as getting Scooter and Skeeter involved, because I just wanted to get, because they're your core four. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the core four, and except now they throw animal in there too. Um, I think I just wanted to just get the basic idea across first, and if they'd said yes, then yes, of course, Scooter and Skeeter would have been included and brought in as well, because you got to have your
Right.
sibling pair in there. So yeah, but wow, I'm amazed you remember that.
I don't know why that always stuck with me. You know what it is
I
like we
sort of
were
forgot
we
that
were at
one.
Comic
Yeah.
Con, New York Comic Con, and you were like, Joe,
Mm.
check this out. You like pulled out your phone and like you didn't tell me anything beyond that. So in my mind, it was like I'm getting a sneak peek at the next thing that's happening. I didn't know it was just
No.
a pitch at the time, and it just
Yeah, yeah,
obviously I know
it was
now.
just a yeah, it was just it was just concepts, yeah, that we tossed around with the boom editors, and they went, oh yeah, no, it's cute. I don't know if it even got as far as Disney, but I think at
Sure,
that
yeah.
that was at that stage where I think Boom's licensing was sort of coming to an end, and I think we were all just kind of struggling, just kind of in a mad scramble to get what was on the schedule already finished. I don't think they were going to do any more after Roger, because remember, the last of Roger's Muppet Show comics was not released until much later. They had to kind
Oh,
of
that's
dig it up,
right.
and
Yeah,
yeah, it was like his last arc did not get published, and it didn't. That got published at Disney,
that's
and
right.
because yeah, they had all the different, they had that whole new different set of covers which were done by the Italian crew.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, so I don't think that ever got as far as being pitched to Disney, because I think at that stage Boom was wrapping up
Yeah, fair
on the
enough.
comics, but yeah, so it's very sort of dismaying that no other publisher has really decided to continue doing Muppet comics.
I
Even if
know, yeah.
even yeah, even if Roger is kind of, he's, I don't know, he may want to come back and do it again, which would be great, but if not, I'm like, hello,
Right, yeah.
we're
There's so
still
much
here.
amazing talent out there that's like ready to jump into
Mhm.
projects like that, and I
Yeah.
know that you're one of them.
Mhm.
Well, going back specifically to Skeeter,
Okay, just
what
get.
kind of projects would you like to see her appearing in? Whether it's comics or with, the Muppets proper, like what would you like to see as like the next iteration of Skeeter?
Well, I mean, one of the things we did love doing with the Boom comics was the fairy tale crossover adaptations, which have never been republished since Boom lost it. So I did Muppet Peter Pan, James Silvani did Muppet Robin Hood, and we had a lot of fun doing those. And one thing I really really wanted to do, and which I would still do, is Skeeter in Wonderland. I wanted to do a Skeeter Alice in Wonderland crossover because
Cute. Yeah.
I'm a massive Lewis Carroll nut. So, and I know exactly who. I think I've got the notes somewhere. I had casting set up. I would have loved to have done that, because Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, that is such a narratively dense classic story, and it's got so many characters. There's place for everybody in there, but to be able to center Skeeter for once as this girl who's dropped in his land, she's like, what on earth is this? And except
Yeah. Well,
and
and
she's
like
got
her
a
first like true starring role, and if that were to
it would be a
happen,
good starring role for her. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did manage to sneak her in. She has a background cameo in Muppet Sherlock Holmes
Yes, she
somewhere.
does.
And
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, well, I've got to put her in there. And when I was doing Muppet storybooks with Little Brown and Co., I snuck her into the background of what there was a Christmas collection we did, and I'm just sort of like, I'm just putting this character in there. I'm like, she's Scooter's sister, and the other went, oh, that's cute. Yes, I remember her from Muppet Babies, and I went, look,
Oh,
trust me,
good.
she's appeared in comics before. Disney knows she exists. It's fine.
Right. Don't ask about the
But
rights.
what
We
I
know
like
that
to,
it's fine.
yeah, but I mean, the um what was the Muppet? What was it? Oh, I'm blanking on the name now. What was the Muppet series that came before the Mayhem? Was the social media one? What was
Yeah, you're
that?
talking. It was
Muppets
just
Now.
called the Muppets. Are you talking?
Well,
Oh,
no,
the
it was
Muppets Now. Yes, yes, Muppets
Muppets
Now. Yeah.
Now. I mean,
Hmm.
there were many problems with that, but I
Yes.
think the concept had legs. I think the idea of the Muppets, all it presented the opportunity for short skit based comedy because they're meant to be little online quick clips, your Snapchats, YouTube, TikTok, all that kind of stuff, and just the sheer scope of subject matter directly reflects modern social media. Any of the Muppets could do this stuff, and Skeeter would absolutely be in on that. She'd be all over TikTok if she was around now.
Oh my
And
God. Yes. Yeah.
she'd be doing stupid things like, making the most horrible concoction she can to, make all the cooking people have conniptions.
Yes.
She'd be good natured trolling everywhere because it's fun and it's not, she wouldn't hurt a fly, but it's all just fun. She likes poking fun at nerdery, even though she is probably a very proud nerd herself. So you
Yeah.
own it, or yeah, it's So I mean, something like that. I mean, to take Muppets Now, which did not do that great, but just revisit that at some point. I think that'd be a great opportunity for to even someone to like to ease Skeeter back into it or something, or
I
if we
think
get another series, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
and I think what you've been describing for her character of like someone who has a role in the Muppet Theater, which I
Mm.
think I personally think is important.
Yeah.
Just having something to do when you're with the troupe, but
Mm-hmm.
also fitting into a format that can be these bite-sized things because that's truly where the Muppets
Mm-hmm.
thrive the best is,
Yeah.
that's the Muppet
Yeah.
Show format. It's the variety show
Mm.
format, and being able to
Yeah.
get in and do a funny thing and get out,
Mm-hmm.
while being funny and also being able to like create story because of conflicts or other relationships with the other
Yeah.
characters. She's a perfect character to add to the rest of the Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
Yeah. And I mean, I
I
think
hope it happens someday.
yeah, and I think the second half of the modern Muppet Show. I mean, it's the idea of moving the Muppets to a television format. It's straight. It's directly descended from Muppets Tonight. It's
Yes.
because I mean the variety show format is a little bit unrelatable to modern audience because the variety show format's almost dead. It's pretty much a dead format. But and people don't watch network TV as much as they used to. So
That's true. Yeah.
it's so yeah, television and it's the moving it to TV, of course, then you've got you've got reality TV also as an extra overlay on top now, which makes that kind of behind the scenes fourth wall breaking thing a much more relatable and familiar format to audiences. So even if the Muppet Show cast isn't backstage in the old theater, which is of course what we all love, but even if they're TV, it's backstage at the TV studio. I mean, Skeeter could still have a role there. There's plenty for her. There's plenty of roles for her to play as well. But definitely, I think she needs a place in there at the very least, because we need to get some gender equity in the Muppets. We need to kind of keep building on that. Keep building on that. They're Janice and Piggy, and they're written much more modernly now, which is fine. Piggy should always be a bit ridiculous, and I mean Janice should always be, off finding herself. But but there's so much for Skeeter to be the one more rooted in reality, the slightly more cynical one who sees Whovie for what it is, and we'll either call you out on it or we'll just totally lean into it because it's really fun to watch. It's
well, I hope that the people behind the Muppets can see what we see. And once they're getting into their next big project, whatever it is, they consider Skeeter, because the great thing about it is that what you've done is you created a blueprint both for the design and for the character that is just like ready to go. There's nothing holding them back now. Just add her in and everyone's going to be happy. There's a new character. It's someone that's familiar. It's someone, it's a new female character that's important. And she's going to add more to the Muppet troupe. So let's get Skeeter up in here.
The fact that she's been brought back into Muppet Babies now and she's familiar to a younger audience again, the foundation's there. So it's not like if you were to age her up and include her in the new Muppet, she's not a stranger. Everyone knows who she is. We all know who she is, and the young ones go, "Oh yeah, she's Scooter's
right
twin.
She's a member of the family."
Yeah, she hasn't been forgotten again.
That's right.
That would be awesome. I would be very excited if that happens. Yes.
Me too. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for talking about Skeeter with me. What a joy to just break this character open, and really we're setting the stage. So hope someone from Disney is listening to this and they're like, "Oh yeah, we could just bring in Skeeter. What a great idea that we just had up by ourselves on our own."
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll say, "Fine,
sure
whatever it takes."
I'm sure the Muppet Babies users feel the same way we did. It's like, well, we can't have Muppet Babies and not leave her and not have her in there. So I think she's got more. She's got more admirers and people who love her out there than probably we think, which would be lovely.
It's absolutely true. I guarantee it. Well, Amy, thank you again for being here. Can you please let us know where people can find you on social media?
Okay, well, thank you so much. Yes, I mean, I'm mostly just hanging out on Instagram and Blue Sky. My tag is Amy Mebberson, all lowercase, on both those platforms. So I use Instagram for just posting art, or if I'm just kind of shooting the breeze, I'm usually over on Blue Sky. So thank you so much for having me, Jared. Of
course. Everyone should go follow you to see some amazing artwork, see what else you're working on. And who knows, maybe we'll even see some more Muppet projects coming from you in the future. Yeah, that would be lovely. Yes, I hope so too.
70 Years, 70 Muppets is a Muppet fan podcast presented by toughpigs.com. Hosted by a whole myriad of people and edited by them as well. Produced by Jared Fairclough. The Muppet 70 logo used with permission by the Muppet Studio with thanks to Danny Iglesias, Frank Reich Snyder and Lee Slaughter. Don't forget to follow toughpigs.com on all social media platforms. You can support us by heading to patreon.com/toughpigs or buying a t-shirt at tpublic.com/toughpigs.